Again, I want to be clear with you that the work we do in here tonight will be about issues at the heart of the matter for human beings, but the purpose of engaging in those issues, the purpose of the inquiry, is a very practical, hard-headed impact on our everyday concerns. This is not some class in philosophy. This is not a theological discussion, nor, as I said, one about history or anthropology or sociology. No. Its intention is to literally impact, like break open, like empower us in our everyday being in the world. Now, I've used the word power a couple of times, and I want to tell you what I mean by power, because it's a badly understood word. Or at least what I mean by it is often not well understood. So I can take about a half an hour to tell you what I mean by power, or I actually read this quote by Charles Reich, in which he says what I mean in a paragraph. Really annoys me. But in the interest of time and efficiency, I'm going to read you what he said rather than give you my half hour. I think my half hour is a little better, obviously, but I say it for efficiency's sake. He says, power to me, by the way, this comes from a lecture that he did on power and the law. He says, power means to me pretty much the same thing as freedom. Power is the thing that everybody wants the most they can possibly have of. That is, skiing is power. Sex appeal is power. The ability to make yourself heard by your congressperson is power. Anything that goes out of you, anything that comes out of you and goes out into the world is power. And in addition to that, the ability to be open, to appreciate, to receive love, to respond to others, to listen to music, to understand literature, all of that is power. By power, I mean human faculties exercised to the largest possible degree. So in a way, in a large sense, by power, I mean individual intelligence. Now, when you reach out to another person through the energy or creativity that is in you, and that other person responds, you are exercising power. When you make somebody else do something against their will, to me, that is not power at all. That is force. And force, to me, is the negation of power. So when I talk about this work having a practical, hard-headed impact on our everyday concerns and our ability to deal with those concerns, on our everyday being in the world, and empowering ourselves in our everyday being in the world, that's what I mean by power, like that. Now, dealing with what we don't know that we don't know, this arena, getting at the kind of being that human beings are, is difficult stuff. And I'm going to read you a paraphrase of a quotation by the philosopher Martin Heidegger from Being and Time. He's talking about getting at this kind of being that human beings are. And he says people's kind of being thus demands that any attempt to get at that being constantly has the character of doing violence, whether to the claims of the everyday interpretation or to its complacency and its tranquilized obviousness. So he's talking about a particular kind of violence. He's talking about the kind of violent Gandhi was. He's talking about the kind of violent Martin Luther King was. A violence to the claims of the everyday interpretation, what you already know, what common sense tells you, what's clear for you. So tonight, in order to really participate in this, you're going to have the courage and the fortitude and the commitment to a kind of ruthless honesty and a compassion for the value that human beings might possibly be, required to do violence to what you already know to be true. That which you believe, that which is your opinion, that with which you, literally, that with which you identify. That's the kind of work that you need to be willing to do to come to know what you don't know that you don't know. And it's not easy. And it's not comfortable. And tonight is not a show. And if you're here for a show, you're in the wrong place. I'm not entertaining. You probably can tell that already. You see, you and I have been trained to listen for prescriptions, to listen for recipes. We've trained ourselves and been trained by our culture, by the practices of our culture, to listen for solutions and answers. People go any place if it'll make them thinner, sexier, richer, etc. This is not about getting better tonight. It's about freedom and power in our everyday being in the world.